Thank you. I'm going to ask you if everybody, when I go around the room, can just give your name and a little bit about why you're here. Laura Inserto, Chair of the Human Services Commission.
Julie DeMarco, Human and Social Services Director. So I'm here.
Melinda Johnson, Social Services Coordinator.
Loretta J., Commissioner.
Gwen Palmer, Commissioner.
Brenda Steele, Director of Bigelow Center.
Norma Paris, Commissioner.
Joe Krejci, Secretary of the Commission.
Carol Sturkey, Commissioner.
Herb Lineholder with Fairfield Senior Advocate. John Mann, also with Fairfield Senior Advocate.
Laura Gorman, with Friends of the Bigelow Center.
Lynn McMillan, Secretary of the Friends of the Bigelow Center. Hello.
Steve Valentine, President of the Friends of the Bigelow Center.
Right.
You're on next.
Suzanne Tepson, Vice Chairman of the Human Services Commission, and apologies for being a few minutes late.
Great, we're glad to have you. Thank you. One thing that we like to do is begin our meeting by reciting the mission of our commission. And it's on the agenda for all those who have their agenda. And if not, you can listen. The Human Services Commission shall be the policy-making body for the Department of Human Services. The Human Services Commission and the Human Services Department are responsible for services to elderly and disabled residents of Fairfield. The Commission studies community human service issues across all age and income groups, provides a public forum for citizen input, and makes recommendations to the Human Services Department and the first elected people.
Thank you, Julie. This is Marty
thank
Ford from North Carolina. Yeah, you're welcome. I wasn't sure when to let you know that I'm here, but I'm here.
Appreciate that. Thanks, Marty.
Hi, Marty. We had to drag you out of the sun, huh?
Hi, everybody. Yes, it's really nice. I recommend that you all come down.
Good to hear your voice. So
Thank
we
you.
are very, very fortunate to have with us today Herb and John, who are the leaders and founders of Fairfield Senior Advocates, which is always an amazing resource to us here at the Commission as well as to the citizens of Fairfield. And we've been talking about lots of things over the last several months, so having you head off our new year makes great sense, and I thank Julie for arranging that with you. And I'd like to just turn our meeting over to you both. Tell us about what you do for our public members, briefly, and then you can give us your report. How does that sound?
And please join us at the table.
Sorry.
Join us at the table.
Okay, great.
The sanctum.
You mean your hand?
Like a circle.
Kind of funny, but
Great.
Thank you to Brenda and getting copies for it.
Sheila, we can scan and send you a copy of the handout, okay, for the minutes?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
I thought it was all.
yes, I have another one. Laura, did you get one?
I did not.
There
Thank
you
you.
go.
Thank you.
I love that word, priority.
So I want to apologize. I should have probably sent Brenda a copy of the slides, electronic copy of the slides, so she could make it available to everyone who is calling in.
Mm-hmm.
But I will do that after the meeting and get a copy. So Marty and who else is anybody?
Sheila.
And Sheila.
Our
So Marty and
secretary.
Sheila can see that.
That'd be great.
So we'll promise to do that.
Thank
So what we wanted to do and I'll look to you for direction for speeding me up or
This means enough.
I know that. So John's going to help me with this, and had a few things that we wanted to cover. I'll just sort of talk about the overall
Great.
agenda first. Just a little bit about FSA, who we are and what we do very, very quickly, because I know a lot of people are familiar with it. Then a little bit about what we are doing at the legislature, we're trying to do with the legislature, in a couple of areas. One, taxation of retirement income, and also programs for vulnerable seniors. And then a little bit about housing, which I know you're interested in. So I'm on the Affordable Housing Committee as well as being with senior advocates. And that kind of gives me a window in terms of what's going on there. And we'll also talk about accessory dwelling units a little bit too, that the FSA has been heavily involved in.
Great.
And then age-friendly, do we want to talk about age-friendly?
A little bit.
Okay, we'll talk, and John will be our point person to talk about age-friendly.
Perfect.
So, and he's also welcome to jump in any other time to correct me when I'm speaking out of school. So before I do that, it's great to meet everybody for the first time. If you haven't had me and the folks that we have known and for a long time, to see all of you again. It's wonderful. So just kind of quickly about FSA. We've been around since 2016. Actually, 2015 we did our formation. We were around since 2016. And we're all about making Fairfield attractive for older adults and keeping our seniors here in the town and state and making life better for them. And we're a completely nonpartisan organization, inclusive, representing all Fairfielders. And you don't have to be a senior to be part of Fairfield Senior Advocates. We welcome everyone, including people who aspire to be seniors. So, but our key issues really are housing, senior-friendly housing, but housing that benefits other demographic groups as well, tax reform, programs to protect, tax reform at the state and town level, programs to protect seniors. We do a lot of demographic studies and data studies, and age-friendly will be another means of us to lengthen what we've done. And then we try to do as much education and outreach as we can. So I won't go into a lot of detail about what we've done since 2016. I think you're familiar probably with the law, but if anyone has any questions about that or anything else we do,
Yeah, I have a question.
just reach out.
How many members are part of Fairfield Senior Advocates, and how would somebody qualify to join?
That is a wonderful question, and it's not a plan either. So we're small. So
If you're alive, you're qualified.
I feel like I was a member at one time, and I kind of fell off that member.
That's actually why we're here.
It's actually a wonderful opportunity.
Yeah.
So we're small, so fewer than 10 active people, and we really need to supplement our size. And one thing I was going to ask everyone here is to think about some way you'd like to get involved with us, to point someone else that you know toward us who is looking to get engaged, looking for something that person finds meaningful. There are no obligations, there are no terms, there are no specific qualifications. We'll find something that everyone's comfortable in doing, and we'll be painstaking in terms of explaining what we do. But we could be a lot more effective than we are. I think we're proud of what we do. We could be a lot more effective if we had some more folks.
Do you have an email or a website we can go on?
Yeah, and that number that Herb mentioned was really just the core group of FSA leaders, I would say, that are involved in creating and developing the material that we present, running the programs that we do, communicating to town bodies and entities. Unfortunately, we've had some people that have moved away, so that's one of the difficult situations we're trying to counter. Some have passed away as well. 2 of our very active members over the 5 years or so have passed away. We try to prevent that as well to the best extent that we can. We do have a website. We do have a list of several hundred people that do receive our periodic communications and whatever. And I would say we have probably about 80 to 90 people that have attended various of the programs that we've done here at the senior center on the topics that Odin's articulated here. So it's a little bit bigger, I would say, than.
Yeah, and a mail list is a good bit longer than that.
Oh, yeah.
And we've had a number of other people that have been involved in our Zooms, but, yeah, so I was really referring to the size of the core group before. But to Rabbi Barber's question, what we can do, we have a website, and what I'll do is, I promised that I would get the electronic copy of the slides, so I'll send that to Brenda with my contact information and John's and that website link.
Okay, I keep promising and now I have to do it down there here, you know.
Is it FSA or is it Fairfield Senior Advocates, your website?
It's actually Fairfield, www.fairfieldsenior.advocates, all one word.
Okay.
And it's now .org.
Okay,
It used to be .com, it's now .org.
Okay.
But we'll include that
that would be great.
with our addresses, and then, Brenda, if you could get it to the members and certainly to the friends as well.
Sure.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you, Mark. So,
I just have a question. When you say senior, is that an age thing? The 65, is that a senior? I'm always curious, because I know here at the senior center, it's 50, right? Brenda, is that correct? So I'm just concerned with your group. Do you tend to think of seniors being 65 or over 50 or?
well, I went up to Woods Library before Christmas, and so I was playing with Mary Coe that I'd go up there and hang out a little bit, and I had one young man, age 28, come over and express interest in getting involved with us. And it turns out now he's not going to be able to work with us. He may have had a job come up, but we were excited about having him part of the group. So
No, I can see being part of the group, and what I'm saying, when you call yourself senior advocates, I mean, you could have a 28-year-old working for the group and doing the issues that you think senior advocates would want, but I'm just saying, you tend to think of seniors. I'm just curious the context of here. Do you view it as 65-year-old?
We started out, it was largely focused on seniors. What we would say is probably 65 and older. And the issues that were important to seniors, which back then were housing affordability, state issues, community service, things like that. From the work we did and the interaction we had with people attending programs and finding out what was on their mind, what we really recognized is that it's broader than people just 65 and older. It's multi-generational. It's families that are trying to address the needs of their parents or people with other kinds of needs that are involved. So it's multi-generational. So it's people with 45 to 60 that are trying to help deal with the challenges of their parents who are 75 to 90 or whatever the case might be. So it's, I would say the bookends on really the people that seem to be interested in what we're talking about is 45 to infinity.
And John's going to talk about age-friendly, but when Greenwich did their age-friendly survey, they surveyed adults age 45 and up. I think our inclination is to do the same. So I think we think in terms of trying to reach out to people that are at least in that band. So,
Great.
thank you. So I was going to say we'll jump through. We won't talk about what we've done since you probably know a lot of it. And if you have any questions, you know where we live and whatnot. Yeah. Okay. So focus areas. We wanted to talk in a couple of areas. We wanted to talk especially about the legislature, and also briefly about age-friendly. And we just talked about communications and outreach, especially outreach. But with respect to outreach, we are going to try to spend more time here and more time at the libraries in terms of hanging out a bit, just in terms of being accessible to people, that they can come up and talk with us one-on-one. We'll continue to have special topic video sessions as well as in-person meetings. And we really are looking to build up our base of active workers.
Are you thinking like town halls or things like that? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely some of those. And I mean, we were really behind the accessory dwelling unit meeting that took place in November. at the museum. And so we're thinking about things like that as well as smaller meetings, for sure. So maybe we can then sort of jump into, I won't try to talk about all these sub-bullets, but let's jump into the page 4 is we're getting into the state legislature. Now, this is the active time of the year for us in the legislature. We spend a lot of time working with our reps. We've met with most of our reps in person already, and we'll finish that process hopefully next week. We have specific ideas that we are advocating, and in fact, this process actually began back before the election when we reached out to all of the candidates for state offices and asked them about their priorities, and we compiled all that information. And that really has been helpful in terms of getting them plugged into our interests and their interests. And so when we had these first meetings, it's really, we've already got a head start in terms of talking about what's really important and what's on our minds. So this is sort of a quick summary of what's on our minds right now. So first area, taxation of retirement income. There's a program right now that's been in effect that we'd like to think that we had some influence on that exempts taxation of Social Security, taxation of pension, annuity, and 401k, 403 type income. And we'll now start exempting traditional IRA income on a different, that's being phased in. And we'd like to think we've played a role in this, and we were very active when this first started with Social Security income in 2017. But there are some issues. There are some equity issues in the program. Now, the program currently has an eligibility of $75,000 income, a single, of $100,000 joint. And I think there is interest in the legislature at bumping up that eligibility. But and so we're supportive of that, but we also would like to see some of the inequities fixed. So what are the inequities? One is what I referred to before. Traditional IRA income has not been subject. It's beginning in 2023. 25% of IRA income, now not Roth, but traditional IRA income, will be eligible, and then they'll phase to 50, 75, and 100 over 4 years. So that's one inequity we'd like to see that expedited. Another equity is the existence of something that's known as a cliff. So right now, if I'm a single person and I earn $74,999, I'm eligible for this benefit, modified adjusted gross income.
Is there an age for that?
It's 60, I believe. We should check that.
Yeah.
But 65.
65. But 65 for what?
Eligibility.
To become eligible.
Can you hear me okay back there?
Yeah, but for the IRA exemption, are you talking?
Well, it's 65 for the state benefit. In other words,
Because any kind of annuity, now is tax exempt, I mean,
yeah.
it's not an IRA.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how old you are.
It doesn't. Okay, then we'll be back off. Okay, if you.
On a regular pension, if you inherit a distribution.
Okay.
I think,
it's not-
I
I
think,
mean, to the point, that you fall within the parameters.
Right.
So pension, annuity, 401, 403 income, up to $75,000. The point I was making was that if I earn $75,000, I'm eligible for the benefit. If I earn $75,100, I'm eligible for no benefit. In fact, I get zero benefit. Cliff. Sharp cliff.
And are you trying to change that, Cliff?
Yes,
Okay.
phase out the ineligibility over time.
Ah, okay.
So that is actually built into, that and the IRA are actually built into a bill that has the support of a number of legislators, 60 some currently in the House. And so we're working with our reps, in tandem with our reps, in supporting that and explaining that and trying to get their support and trying to get linked to others who will support this type of legislation. Now, what will happen in reality is there will be a bill fashioned in the committee, in the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding Committee. There will be a compendium of this and similar type bills, kind of a consensus bill. That's what will happen. And but the current thinking is that there's a lot of support for this concept. So we're working with our reps in terms of fashioning what the ideal terms might be of this legislation, how the phase out might work, how the IRA might be treated. And we're working with them, but we're also requesting data from the Office of Fiscal Analysis that we would use in terms of making our case for, and offering options in terms of how the bill could be fashioned. So that's
So
what
we
we're
had this view, and we also spoke with AARP, and they're supporters of achieving this benefit to for people that are, have this type of income. And their key recommendation was talk to your local legislators, ensure that they're in support of it, because bills that are being created in the state House and Senate right now on topics like this. So make sure your local representatives are supporters of this, and if you can, reach out to representatives in the community surrounding Fairfield to make sure that they are also in support of it, because greater voices get greater results, basically.
Quite often, the legislators do have forums on different topics. So you may want to try to get on one of those agendas, and they can have a forum, you can speak, they invite people, very informative.
Yes.
They did one
So
on.
we've actually, as senior advocates, testified in front of the committees that go in front of the Finance, Revenue, and Bonding and other committees in Hartford in the past. Not yet on this topic, because they're just forming their committees and the representatives that are going to be on each of the committees. So you're absolutely right. It's providing
Well, what I'm
testimony.
talking about is a forum to the voters, to the people that support them.
Yes.
Because they're not going to support something if they don't feel their constituency is behind it. You know what I'm saying? And also, have you communicated with the governor at all? Do you know where he stands on it?
Well, we haven't yet, but we're working on the best way to get there through the AARP and other organizations. So we're picking our spots. We know who some of the key players are that lead committees. So, for instance, the head of the Appropriations Committee was an advocate of this in her campaign, but she's on our list. The governor's office is on our list. In Finance, Revenue, and Bonding, we'll have targets that are on our list. That's where the lifting will take place on this committee. When we advocated for Social Security, for the Social Security tax breaks back in 2017, Gordon McKenzie and I met with the finance leaders in Hartford, and we actually laid out for them the way we cost it, with the way we price the legislation. So I mean, we do a lot of detailed work when we can get our hands on raw data to work with. So we're grateful, and we're looking at these different avenues to stand.
And we're looking at submitting a request to the Office of Fiscal Analysis on what's the tax cost implications of each one of these changes, because no decision on this is going to be made by any committee on taxation in the state without the Office of Fiscal Analysis providing their objective assessment of what the tax loss implications of each of these changes will be. So we're drafting that request. The legislators for Fairfield are supportive of us sending that to OFA, and they're going to help try and ensure that we get a reasonably responsive response back from OFA on that information.
Great. Thank you.
So other than them advising us of what they do, is there something that the commission should be working with them about? What is your feeling on this?
Well, I think we should probably have them get through the presentation, but then talk about ways in which we see that maybe we have a role, the commission has a role in becoming active in some of those areas.
That would be great. That'd be great.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Now, the next 2 pages, I tried to see if Bill Lenihan could join us today, because Bill has become kind of our guru on vulnerable programs for seniors. But he tried to give me and John a primer, and John's actually been helping Bill in terms of putting slides. So we used these slides you're looking at when we met with the reps, and when we'll do it with another situation. And so Bill has some connections. He and I met last year with the chairman of the Aging Committee in the legislature, and also Ann Hughes from Easton, who's on the Aging Committee. And we're trying to have another similar meeting. Phil and I and probably Gordon will be meeting with Marie Allen at SWACA soon to understand what Marie's priorities are and to share with her hours, which we do on a regular basis. And I know that Marie's looking to represent the center's interests as well as the other senior centers and social services agencies. So this is sort of our current short list. I will say it's subject to change for sure. But to give you an idea in terms of some of the things that we're especially concerned about. So one of them is this whole issue of homemaker companion, the lack of homemaker companion staff that exists, and the whole issue in terms of oversight over these agencies. I mean, there are an incredible number. Bill tells us there are 900 companion agencies in the state, and there really isn't any. So the companion agencies are overseen by one department. That's the Department of Consumer Protection, whereas the home care agencies are overseen by the Department of Public Health. So the preference would be to get it all under public health, but that means turf and other issues. So this task force is looking at how this oversight would actually take place, or should take place, will take place. And there are issues associated with not just the agency oversight, but employee vetting, inspection, training, complaint resolution, so forth.
How about cash only? That's a huge issue. Like, how do you handle it? I mean, just add it to your list for me, and we'll talk.
Okay.
Please.
Cash.
Yeah, so many of these, like, qualified home care people want cash only, they don't want to be on the books, and, that kind of thing.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
They don't have.
yeah.
They
There was a big article in the Wall Street Journal this week about the turnover in terms of companion care force. I mean, it's down to 60%.
Yeah.
It was 80% last year. And we know it's really difficult in terms of keeping these agencies staffed with respect to care, with respect to nurses and so forth. So this is the type of thing we're trying to delve into. So the task force is out. We're going to play a role in terms of where it goes. A lot of work we do in this area aren't things that provide immediate gratification. So it may take 2 years, 3 years, 4 years to get the proper resolution, but you have to keep working at it to try to get there. So that's where we are now. So we're still trying to assess where some of these task forces will go, where they can go this year.
And do the other towns have similar things? I assume to prepare for senior advocates, are you joining with them? Because it seems like an awful lot just for Fairfield to be taking on.
It's the very question we posed to Jen Leeper when we met with her on Monday, Barbara. We don't know of really any, but we would love to find them.
Sure.
Even help them you know, foment themselves.
Yeah.
So, and she's giving us a couple of names that we're going to reach out to in terms of her colleagues in other towns, like Fairfield, to see if we can.
But as far as entities like Fairfield Senior Advocates and other communities, we did do some research back 4 or 5 years ago about it. Largely what we found was many were dormant. Many of them had aged out, meaning they had aged past the point or moved away, as, you know, some of the things that we see here. But there weren't very many that were involved, active, focused on issues. We'd love to have 10 other companion entities in other towns, so it really could be a forceful
That's what was my
impact.
point, more clout, more people, more.
If you hear of any, please let us know. We'll talk to them, we'll share information, we'll try and work with them.
But we want to reach out to, not just now, but we're going to face it and, you know, align ourselves with them for sure.
But that was also one of the reasons why we, you know, are putting an emphasis on getting younger people involved, because they'll be involved longer, and it'll create a runway for us to build organizational value and impact.
I wonder, maybe Rabbi Barber knows, Connect, you know, Connect is the religious organizations, I forget its official name, but that feels like a good bridge. It's an organ. Can you speak better to it? It's a organization of religious organizations in the state. But that feels.
I haven't heard about them in a while.
I've heard from them recently, I think.
Yeah.
But they feel like they have a good bridge that could bring you together with other senior organizations in the
It's
state.
not spelled like Connect. It's
No, and
missing a letter, I think, isn't it?
if you Google Connect Connecticut
I think.
religious organization group, you'll find it.
That's enough for me to try and figure this out.
We'll work on that.
Yeah.
Correct.
They were trying to work to organize the state under, you know, for all the synagogues, churches, et cetera, that, you know, if they're going to take on an issue, they would take it on the whole board, you know, rather than piecemeal in each town.
Yeah, faith-based organizations in your community are essential to the age-friendly initiative that we're talking about, but I certainly can recognize the greater need around the state of that involvement.
Yeah, that is, I haven't heard much of it.
So what page are we on now?
So we're still on page 4, we're about to leave it, but before I do that, so there's a similar task force to study means of increasing the healthcare workforce. So we're again trying to study that and contribute to how that, you know, what can come out of that. Again, these are longer term issues. So, but you can see the type of issues that we're working on. Then the next page are actually some bills. These are a lot of bills, specific bills. These are bills that came up last year, or we're proposing that have specific objectives. So one is this registry of persons convicted of crimes against the elderly, which we were really behind previously in terms of that legislation being introduced. It hasn't really, it's gotten stuck, and it gets objection from the ACLU, maybe other organizations. People they don't want people to have their names on a list that you know, lasts for some period of time. So we haven't given up on it, but it's something we continue to work on. This next one has to do with coordination of care, this all-inclusive care for the elderly. A number of other states have this type of program, not in Connecticut. This is a bill that would have authorized the Commissioner of Social Services to amend the state program. This is something we think may be worthy of being brought up again, so we're raising it with our reps. I'll just skip around here a little bit. The next one has to do with this is similar to SB 171 of last year, would be a revolving loan account to assist elderly homeowners with delinquent income taxes. The next one has to do with juror service. So it used to be that was capped at age 70. It's now 75. And this came because the state was looking for ways of increasing the size of the juror pool. One way to do that is to increase the age.
Right.
And so we would prefer to see that to be an optional thing, something you can opt out without having to necessarily get, doctor's verification for it to be a voluntary thing. Not to discourage at all seniors from being involved in jury service, but to make it optional. So that's something we would like to see happen. 5061 would have required healthcare facilities to provide daily patient visitor access. This is a pandemic-driven piece of legislation. And then the final one, the funding for the protective service for the elderly would be to help manage the cases per worker in terms of, as well as our other objectives.
So one thing you'll see on this page is it says bills similar to 2022's SD or HB. What we have found is in the committees, what happens is legislation will be identified and sponsored by a representative or a senator and introduced. They'll get hashed around and sometimes they get dropped or they get merged into other bills. So what we're going to try and do is figure out for each one of these topics who the people that sponsored it last year, get to them and find out if they're going to reintroduce it or did they sunset it, do they merge it in with something else, just so we can keep abreast of, who's involved and what topics may come back up as the committees form in Hartford and move forward. So.
And getting a bill into law can be a multi-year process. And it may progress and make more progress each year in the legislature.
Or they'll decide they need to study more, as the items on the prior page that we talked about.
Yeah.
They might say, this is an important topic, we need to study it, we need to get some data and facts and whatever. So we're going to put a task force together, and that's going to research it for a year, and it's going to come back next year. And that's the process that Hartford uses.
And again, if I may, because I just have an overall question for all of the legislation. As a group, how do you determine what positions to take on each one of these bills? For example, some of these could be controversial. One person would go one way. They take the first one about registry of all that. Right. I'm just curious, how do you determine the position your group takes with respect to that bill?
Well, a lot of it is based on input we get from, say, AARP. We get from SWACA and other places. I mean, because they have more experience, or Julie and Brenda, or their compatriots elsewhere. So we look to build on other people's experience, and we have to pick our spots. Being very limited in terms of our numbers, in terms of what we advocate.
But most of the groups you reach out to are people you've dealt with before, so you
right. And we wouldn't necessarily jump on every one of our initiatives. So in our small group, I'll just give you an example. So one thing that was advocated last year by AARP was a prescription drug affordability board. And this may exist in one other state, and one other state has looked at it. It just seemed to be a little bit premature to jump on that and make that a major priority for us. And there's AARP still looking at it, and we'll see whether we're ready. But we can only pick a limited number, have a limited, list of things that we can really. We've got limited bandwidth here, I guess I should say.
Right.
All right. To answer your question, Joe.
Okay.
So next two pages have to do with housing. And again, just to give you a quick update. So there are two major objectives in the Affordable Housing Committee plan of 2022, 5-year plan. One is enough housing equivalency points to get a first moratorium from 830G, state law 830G. We will never get 10% of our units to be affordable. That will never happen. But we can get a moratorium, a 4-year moratorium, and we're not that far from getting it. We can then move on to a 5-year moratorium from there. And that's really the key to the game, is getting the points to qualify. And it's a bit complicated in terms, you get more points, for instance, if a unit is 60% affordable than if it's 80% affordable. We got a bone thrown to us in terms of a small credit for elderly housing that has now sunset, no longer applies. But we keep track of this every month at the Affordable Housing Committee in terms of how many points do we have and how many do we need. And you don't get credit until the CFO is granted, as John would say. And we're reasonably close, maybe a year away, but it's something we're always looking for in terms of trying to get the points, trying to get the units to qualify. Now that's affordable housing. That's subsidized affordable housing. Then there are the housing options that all of us need as we age or go through other phases in life, whether it's aging in place, whether it's just finding more budget-friendly housing options. And it's great that that's something that we've built into the affordable housing plan. So this is something that we look at the committee, and there are a couple of areas that we're looking at right now in terms of providing more options. One is looking for more what we call middle housing, so more units that might be duplex or triplex type houses. And I've been doing some studies myself in that area, and there are a lot of properties that could be, converted into duplex and have really no impact, no negative impact on their neighborhood. In fact, the consultant the town has told us that typically when you do this, you actually make the properties more valuable. They go up in value. We have zoning regs that are going to be re-examined as part of the new plan of conservation and development. And we have a consultant that's working with planning department and planning and zoning commission and with us. And they're going to make some recommendations, we think, that will result in more units being more middle housing potential, typically in areas proximate to transit stations. So think of along the Post Road, Kings Highway corridor largely. And we're looking at some other areas that might be reasonable too. Right now, a unit has to be in Zone B, which are typically smaller lots. In Zone B, you could build a duplex if you have a lot that's 9,000 square feet. Well, actually, in Zone B, there are hundreds, literally hundreds of lots that are far smaller than 9,000 square feet, in which we have duplexes. And I've looked at most of them, not walking in, but looking at them online through GIS and studying them, looking at the characteristics.
Stalking them?
Sorry?
Stalking them?
Looking at them, and I can tell you that most of them really fit well in their neighborhood. So even though they've been grandfathered, we're not suffering from that. So the 9,000 square feet was really an arbitrary designation. Perhaps it could be 8,500 or 8,000 square feet and doing no damage whatsoever to our community. So we're looking at that. We're looking at other means of trying to make more units. The Greenfield Street initiative that Barnhart's been where we're sort of taking some town land and buying a couple of units and creating two duplexes. So we're looking at a lot of smaller things that aren't as glitzy or glamorous or as headline grabbing as 980 High Street that everybody knows about and has an opinion on. But what will contribute to the volume of affordable housing, but also budget-friendly housing in town.
I'm going to give you a 5-minute warning because I'm sure this question.
Thank you. So we can talk more next time we talk about this. But so there are strategies that are built in the plan. I've listed the strategies. If you have any questions about the strategies that are in the affordable housing plan,
What Otis is describing is as part of his role serving on the town's affordable housing committee. Fairfield Senior Advocates is, through Irv and through some of our other members staying involved with that. We've had former members of Fairfield Senior Advocates very involved, like Irv is in the affordable housing. So Senior Advocates has not grabbed control of this and own it. It's really owned, a lot of what Irv was describing through the Affordable Housing Committee. But a lot of it makes perfect sense for what we're talking about around Fairfield Senior Advocates and seniors' needs for housing.
Yeah, it's just a dovetail, the involvement in that dovetails with our mission. So on ADUs, I won't really say too much. I mean, the video's out there. Encourage you to look at it if you haven't had a chance to. There's a great brochure that we developed with Mark Barnhart's office. You can get a copy of Mark's office. On our website, you could get a primer on ADUs. So I'll just stop on that, and then maybe we can just talk quickly about age friendly.
Sure. So
Thank you.
I'll try and do this quickly. You grab one of those and just pass it around. I don't know if I have enough for everyone, so if you can look on with someone if there's not enough, and if there's any extras, you'd like to give one back. So age friendly. Age Friendly is one of our initiatives that really came to life from Julie's participation in the strategic planning session that we had 2 or 3 years ago. It centers around World Health Organization and AARP initiatives to help define what an age-friendly community is all about. There's a multiple of domains that this involves. So if you look at that flower diagram on the right-hand side, it articulates 8 different domains that the AARP and the World Health Organization studies have defined as key characteristics or key areas of focus for communities that would be viewed as age-friendly. There's a description of each one of these. I won't take everyone through it now, but basically the overriding goal of working on things like this relates to making an overall goal of a more livable community, and there's a variety of attributes such as inclusion, access, equity, safety, and support, and integrating all this into the fabric of the community from a multi-generational standpoint, not just seniors. We're looking at kicking off a project on this. The town is we're going to support, Fairfield Senior Advocates is looking to support the town's efforts in this regard. It really needs to be a town-focused initiative. That's what AARP really requires to be branded or accepted as an age-friendly community. Where we are right now is we're working with Julie to get support and buy-in from the town administration and ensure that they're willing and interested in supporting the initiative. It requires certain steps on their part as far as submitting an application, establishing a proclamation. It also involves working with community partners. So we've taken some great steps to build relationships with both Fairfield University and Sacred Heart University to try and have them participate with us and help craft what this will mean. The real focus is around each one of these 8 domains is what are we doing now that would be described as age-friendly? What do we need to change and do more of to become more age-friendly? To help support that, we're going to begin later in the spring as part of this with a survey working with Fairfield University to help us design and execute and analyze the results of that survey about what this would mean. So more to come on it. That's in Julie's 5-minute time frame. Hopefully, explanation. We're happy to field any questions on this if you look at it later and you have follow-up questions on it. Yes. Anything I missed?
So this is a separate group that meets that people can get involved in, that's so like an offshoot or?
This would be an initiative, and it would have a steering committee that would have some members of the town, like Julie, participate in it, some members of the universities participate in it, members of different commissions, possibly members.
Department.
Joey's participated with us in several meetings with Fairfield University, and I think he's interested in participating with it as well. And, as we define each one of the domains, we'll try and make it clear where we need resources and people's perspectives. Your input on faith-based communities in town and contacts so we can get input from them, that would be very helpful as well.
It's a 3 to 5 year program.
Yes.
And I
Yeah,
believe you two feel like it's been 3 to 5
This
years.
isn't snap your fingers and it's done. There's a multi-year program to define what each one of these things mean, work on it, figure out what needs to be done, and then, keep going. We don't need to do all 8 domains all at once. We could pick 5 that are most important for us, focus on them, and then bring along the other ones as we move things
Yeah,
down.
but completely tailored to what the town wants and needs. And,
So sometimes it pushes 2 domains together, and, that's all.
So John, has an application actually been submitted, BH friendly?
I think we have it created, I'm not sure it's been submitted.
Ready to go. The next step is a resolution from the first selectwoman and a letter of intent. And once we have both of those, which we're meeting with her next week about,
Good.
we will then announce it, and then the application is submitted, survey gets started, and we will have the advisory group meet. So there's a lot to do. There's a lot that's been done. I know it doesn't feel that way for you too, but there's a lot that's been done. It's just, it's taking a little longer to do.
So we expect the application, though, the preliminary application, or whatever, first step, to be done by the town within the next 2 months, is that?
You know what, we need the resolution and the letter of intent before the application can be done. So I'm not going to give you a specific time.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a position now where we need to go public pretty soon
Yeah.
because, that's the bottom line, because the survey is going to start in April, and we have to work with the university partner and using their staff, and they've been really generous with staff they've made available. So once we get public, we're going to be scrambling to get people educated and get feedback and so forth.
Okay, well, we expect that, hopefully, that the application and all the other stuff will be done by April.
It has to be.
Have the survey done by the university. I would hope, but
Right.
is that what the goal is? Because it's already February. I mean, I don't mean to be this way, but I'm from private.
Yeah, I'm not commenting on timing. I'm telling you, we're doing the best we can.
Okay,
And we know that there's a deadline with the survey.
okay.
And what seems to me is this is a town initiative, just backing into kind of what you guys were focusing on with affordable housing and, giving relief to seniors. That seems more like a statewide thing, correct?
Well, that particular one is, that's more of a state thing. This is definitely a town initiative,
Right.
town-led,
Right.
and
But I
We
think,
have 7 or 8 examples from other towns all across Connecticut and Massachusetts and Rhode Island, I think, and Greenwich, very close by one. They've gone through this process. They're moving down the trail on this. They're all town-focused initiatives. They're not trying to do something for the state.
Right.
AARP has a state program office that's kind of overseeing a lot of these little towns, but they leave it up to the towns themselves to decide what they want to do, how they want to do it, ensure that their political and their operations structure are, involved in understanding and getting briefed on it. I mean, just as I said, we don't snap our fingers and say we're done with this. There's going to be a process going through this, and the town needs to participate with us because it's a town initiative.
but what I'm saying is I'm speaking from a senior's point of view, sitting here saying my taxes are too high. I need somewhere affordable to live. They don't care about this.
But they will. They will.
That's what I'm saying.
They
Will it help in
Yeah.
tandem?
It
Okay.
will. We can't do this town initiative can't do this without the work of Fairfield Senior Advocates. This survey is invaluable to this process, the dissemination of the information and how to apply it. But when you have time to look through the flower of domains, it's every single, it's not an investment of money in these, it's looking at what makes it attractive. And the hope is that if somebody who is in town or coming to town sees that we are an age-friendly community, that means a lot. That means that we're looking at our parks and our transportation and our recreation, and we are a place that you can live in for a long time. So it's
Housing
very
is a
positive.
key element of this. I know from prior work I've done here in town, safe, attractive, and affordable are 3 paradigms that you build your community around, because without any one of those 3, things don't work.
You're not gonna
The
attract
affordability housing is part of that affordability question, but attractiveness, there's many of these domains that deal with civic involvement, arts and entertainment, that makes an attractive community. Safety is part of this. So these things break down that safe, attractive, and affordable dynamic into a little bit more granular into the things we need to focus on. And housing certainly is one of them.
Yeah.
The commission has any other questions?
Anybody else have questions for John? We really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, and just to reiterate, please give us your thoughts on any of this, but we'd love to have your thoughts on getting involved with us, or point to someone who would get involved with us, and certainly extend this to the friends as well. But we really very much want to extend our relationship with friends.
I'm thinking maybe we can put to our commission that we have a discussion maybe next month or the month after about, what our role in working with you would be. Yeah, because that was one of my questions.
That'd be great. And you don't need to wait until then to reach out to us individually.
It'd be great.
So we're going to get information.
Yeah.
We're going to get those, the slides, and then our contact information, the website address, and we'll send a copy of that document as well.
Julie, do we have time for one more question?
Yeah.
Or when you talked a minute ago about community education, how do you plan on the initiative?
So Suzanne, I'm not sure we have a master plan for exactly what we'll do, but in the past, we've had sessions here, we've had sessions at the library, and we've had social sessions elsewhere. We had a big session on housing at the BOE. So I think it'll be based, those will largely be topic-based, and then we'll also do education through videos where we think it makes sense. But I'm not sure we have a grand plan yet in terms of exactly when and what we'll do, other than we know we need to continue to work the ADU thing, because that's not something that's going to be subject to immediate take-up without really pushing it.
Did you mean for age-friendly or for?
For age-friendly.
Oh, okay, for age-friendly.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's okay.
That's okay, that's
an
an advisory group
So
decision,
that-
right.
So we're going to have to reach out on that, and
Yeah.
that's something we want to talk more and get Brenda's thoughts and Julie's thoughts in terms of how to tackle that.
Right, and there will be an advisory group that works on that, and we have, I mean, they have a almost like a checklist on what we can do with the focus groups and.
So, for instance, if we reached out to community groups, and we'll have community groups on the advisory committee, we could certainly, if there's an interest, we could certainly go to present at a community groups meeting, or at a synagogue or church's meeting.
Or even in front of the RTM, I don't know if you were planning on doing that.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So
All of those techniques we've used in prior work that we've done here, where we've had town hall meetings, we presented to the RTM, to the Board of Finance. I was on the quarterly schedule for the Board of Selectmen for the work that I did. We had articles in the paper, we had letters to the editor, we had 10 questions for someone, for the XYZ committee. So these are all techniques that are great. The ones to use, how to use them, and how they've changed over the past 5 years. I mean, we always get a newspaper in our driveway every week, and many times you don't get the newspaper anymore.
It's called an old-fashioned hard copy.
So we communicate with small devices, and we'll find our way through that. But every element of communication is good.
But that'll be an advisory group.
Excellent. Thank you again.
So with the state leader, that would be a wonderful one to have with you.
All right, I can work on that.
Yeah, all right. John, sorry, can you repeat your last name again, please?
Wynne, W-Y-N-N-E.
Thank you.
Excellent. Really, thank you for your
Good to
time.
be with you.
And great. Thank you for your report.
Great work.
Yeah.
Sticking with us, gives you a lot of
Really
credit.
appreciate it.
So I was doing a multi-year cleanup
Don't give up,
this
right?
past week. I came across the agenda and some of the information that Herb and I used to talk to the Human Services Commission back in 2018.
Yeah.
We've been here a couple of times since then.
Yeah, that's
great.
Different composition, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And that's why we invited you back.
Nice to meet you, John.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, we'll move on to our agenda. If everybody is on board with that, I need an approval of last month's December minutes. Do I have a?
Edit this, please.
Okay.
On page 1, under Board of Health, 2 things. I think there's an extra word may, M-A-Y, that, so it's UI and Eversource gas resources that the area may experience. The first may is, I think, an extra.
Okay.
And I don't understand the last sentence. There could be a gas shortage because it's going to Europe, if that needs some clarification.
I think that somebody had asked about a gas shortage and why is there one? And
Right, but
a
it's
mention may have been made that it's being sent to Europe.
That,
Yeah,
because the
that
gas
we're exporting.
we're exporting to
Right,
Europe. Perhaps
yeah.
that should be clarified.
Yep. Anything else? Sheila, we're good on approving them with those comments?
I'm sorry, I don't need a pass.
You
I
have a
just had a
comment?
couple of touches.
Okay, so are we taking that last sentence out?
We're clarifying.
We're
So
clarifying,
because
because
we're
I-
exporting to Europe.
Okay, because we're exporting, got it.
Okay.
Yep. And what's yours, Joe?
It was on the same thing, not so much of that, the language, I think is missing something. We're on old business, right, we're the Board of Health. that's
No,
what we were on.
we're.
And
Yeah.
what I was getting at was the sentence, there is concern with the way the government is controlling UI and Eversource gas resources that may be the area may experience. This language missing.
There's three names.
Loretta already corrected that one.
Okay, that's what I'm sorry, I got caught up with there.
Housekeeping.
The next thing I had was the department update. I just thought, when it said that, we were thanking Ms. Tefani for organizing. I think she was organizing the commission's donation to the raffle. It made it sound like she was organizing the raffle. If we
Okay.
could just clarify that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to be a pest. This is my life. And the next thing I just
Okay, wait,
wanted
wait,
to
wait,
just.
Sheila, did you catch that, to add maybe
Yes,
to the
yes,
end of
I
the
got
comment?
that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, the only other thing I have, and I promise I'll shut up, is that there are 2 things that they were saying about over 550 new members this year. I think that's 550 new members to the senior
To
center.
the senior center, yeah.
Could we just clarify that, because I didn't want to think it to the department, because I didn't want to think you go. And I think it's over the following thing where it says hoping to add new programs. I think that we mean hoping that the senior center is going to be open.
Well, it's under department, I mean, we could totally
Okay,
clarify
could be
that,
a
but,
department as well.
Okay.
Okay,
okay,
fine.
yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's it, that's all I have, I'm sorry.
So in the future, then, department update will be senior center or both?
Well, no, it would still, we could do a Bigelow one and then a social services one, and then if there's anything else, then I would update that. So we could put that under senior center. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good input. Anybody else, anyone on the phone have any comments? All right, I need a motion then to approve the minutes with changes.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second,
Second?
all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Yay.
No
Thank you.
abstentions or opposition.
Nope.
Sheila. Okay.
Thank you, Sheila.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, so on to old business. Carolyn, can you please give us a report from the Board of Health?
Concerning seniors, there really is nothing. They did say that flu is going down, things are going down, they're not as bad as they were, but other than that, no.
Okay.
Thanks.
Good news.
Yes, it is.
And Marty, do you have a report
Yes,
for us?
ma'am.
The Commission
Okay,
for Disability.
And you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, good. So we had a meeting of the Fairfield Commission on Disabilities on January 10th. And just to review the functions to ensure that Fairfield is a welcoming community where people with disabilities can lead inclusive and fulfilling lives, participating and contributing as active members of our town. And the goals that they had were to increase the awareness about issues and opportunities affecting people with disabilities, advise town officials on policies, procedures, programs, and services, provide information and guidance to individuals, businesses, and organizations on matters related to disabilities, foster and promote a community dialogue with businesses, community organizations, clubs, and associations, and engage people with disabilities and their families, encouraging them to participate in town government and planning. I think, as you all know, because we've discussed it at several meetings, with SHU, there was a survey developed on the accessibility and services to folks with disabilities in the town of Fairfield. The project started around 7 months ago. 30 people, from what I understand, were contacted for the poll. Majority of them were women, 75% were women, 25% men. Majority were over 60% were over 65 years of age. 63% had disabilities, 50% had physical, cognitive, mental health, hearing, and visual disabilities. And part of the survey was asking them how they felt, and they said they felt nervous, isolated, anxious, lacking confidence, and excluded. In regard to the service, the resources provided by the town of Fairfield, of those asked, more than 50% felt that the town was fairly accessible, but the majority indicated that they didn't know what Fairfield offers folks with disabilities. There was a feeling from the commission that a newsletter would be helpful. Also helpful would be to get in touch with parents of students as well as high school students, older students as well. Julie suggested that there be a task force that looks at survey refinement, the survey that had been conducted with SHU, and for that survey refinement to go forward and respond back to the committee with the results of that refinement of the survey. And we would be asking, the committee would be asking SHU students if they would want to continue to collaborate. There was also a discussion about how business could assist, discussion of the best approaches to the Economic Development Commission, discussion of ADA compliance and what responsibilities the town had associated with ADA compliance, both in regard to the town and beyond for other buildings within the town. In regard to resident awareness of the Fairfield Commission on Disabilities, it was suggested that the first selectman announce the formation of the commission through the first selectman email or other sources. And Julie said she'd be working toward updating the resource directory. The committee is very interested in demonstrating progress, and their next meeting, they meet on the alternate months on the second Tuesday, and the next meeting is March 14th.
Great report, Marty, thank you.
Thank you.
Of all that.
We could say, it's online, it's a minute, so that's a great job, Marty, thank you.
Yes, excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're working.
You're welcome.
We see.
I am.
Yes, Loretta has a question.
Mark, has the commission partnered with the Bicycle and Pedestrian Commission or committee? No?
I'm not aware of that.
We have a new chair for the commission, so it's just kind of restarting.
Okay. I had thought of that recently, that might be a good collaboration.
You have a new
Yeah,
chair.
that does make sense.
Commission on Disabilities.
Oh,
is
who
a new
is that?
chair. It is Alder Clocker.
Oh,
The
good.
vice chair is Dan Van Horn, and Marty is our liaison.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you, Marty.
Okay, you're welcome.
If we want to read their minutes, they're underneath ours, the
No,
Human
they're
Services?
separate commissions.
Separate, okay, good.
Go out to, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Thanks, Marty.
Anybody else have a question for Marty? Thank you again, Marty.
Okay, you're very welcome.
Now to the women in the room. We invited the Friends to give an update, and we were lucky this month that they were able to be with us. So I'd like to turn it over, Dee, to you as the new incoming president.
Thank you
For
so
the
much,
Friends.
Laura. I'm actually going to turn it over to Lynn McMullen because I am the new incoming president, and we're hoping to have Lori come aboard as treasurer. And Lynn McMullen is our secretary. She'll represent the Friends at the monthly meeting.
Great, come on up, Lynn.
Yeah, come on up. Great.
Yeah. Okay, isn't it? That's true. I'm not
sure what it is I'm supposed to do.
Just a short, brief update on what's going on with the Friends. You know that there's a new leadership and maybe something that's coming up and.
Well, we do have a lot of fundraising events in the works and some in the future plans. For example, we're hosting the St. Patrick's Day event on St. Patrick's Day. And we're really working hard to build a really nice wine tasting event at the pavilion, Jackie Durrell Pavilion. And we want to make it high-end and kind of luxurious. We're working hard on that. And we are thinking about doing a barbecue in July and maybe a bingo in April. A lot of us are new and we're anxious. We want to spread the word about us and about what you at the Bigelow Center do because it's amazing. And the more I see, the more it unfolds, and I'm so impressed and I so want to be a part of it. Yeah, 'cause a year ago I really didn't really know what's going on. So I'm really happy to be part of the Friends group and I want to represent them well. This is my first time, so I'm not really sure.
That's perfect.
How much detail you need. Thank you, Brenda. I'm embarrassed because I broke a tooth, so very embarrassed because there's some space missing until 2 weeks. I get that fixed.
Wow. All right, no, that's perfect. That's all we needed. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Great. Sorry about the
I'm
tooth.
really happy to be here. Thank you for that. Next time we see me, I'll have a tooth back.
Excellent, thank you so much, and thank you for sitting through our meeting.
We're happy to be invited, period.
You're always welcome, as are all public people invited.
So much to learn.
Right?
Wonderful.
Yeah, great commission.
We don't need to do this.
Okay.
Done.
All right.
The new business, I didn't realize you approved it last month when I wasn't here, so we have the calendars ready to go.
Brenda was a fine leader for us.
That's
with
great.
Laura together.
All right, your department update.
Great. Melinda, you want to go first? Update on social services?
Sure. So we just finished up the holiday giving program. Lots of support from people in town. We received about 28,500 in donations. We distributed about 24,000, serving 184 households and about 500 individuals. So, a lot of good work and a lot of really generous people. So we're hugely grateful for that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We're still in energy season. We're starting up, believe it or not, campership program. That'll start in the next month or two. Anything else? Yeah. Thanks.
Linda?
Thank you. Everything's going well. Brief update, going really, really well. Spring semester of classes will begin, registration will begin for that mid-February. That semester is March, April, and May, so lots of classes were filled last time. We expect lots of them to be filled again.
I have to break up. I don't know how you do what you do. You're amazing.
Yeah.
The absolute,
We've got to get through the meeting and then we'll do public comment. Okay. You can hug her out.
Yeah. And that's really it. Everything's good at the Bigelow Center.
I think you're amazing too. I did print out our Fairfield newsletter for folks if you want to take a look. This is our winter newsletter.
Thank you.
We just put out.
Appreciate that.
The only other department things are the budgets are submitted, and I will bring it to you as soon as I get my final draft of it back. We had a walk around for the bidding for the bathrooms, the gym bathrooms, the hallway bathrooms, and bathrooms. The bids are due by February 9th, and then work shall start probably sometime at the end of March, so that's very good and exciting for us. I think that's it.
And that money's coming from the grant?
ARPA funds.
Yes, the ARPA funds. Cool.
Yeah.
Maybe different from when we changed the fee structure?
We have, that's a great question, Barbara. Remember that discussion about whether or not people were going to be able to swing it if classes would fill up. Classes are filled. Out-of-town membership, we went without an issue. We have scholarship money available. Hardly anybody needed scholarship money. The classes are filled. We have, for the raffle, we raffled off a couple out-of-town memberships and a year of classes, a couple of years of classes, which was great, but we haven't really gotten much pushback. Almost every senior center in our area is charging, and we are charging the least.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out really well. We're very grateful for your support with that.
Good.
Yes.
Anybody else have any questions?
I just had one, the veteran person that was going to move here, has he moved here yet?
They work out of here, but they're not formally in the office yet because the state has to sign one more something. It's nothing to do with us, but then when they do have a grand opening, you'll all be invited. Hopefully that's within the next few weeks, but they're working here, but it's not.
We're going to invite him to speak to us when he does become resident.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of our next month's speaker, Julie was able, March, right, so we're skipping February, okay. In March, we've invited Beth Harris, interesting last name.
Great.
Darien Senior Center Director, and she is,
No, I think she has two.
She's a regional.
well, so there's something else.
Hold up.
Yeah, she's, serving on a district group that's, going to be focused on senior centers and seniors, looking at all things, seniors and senior centers, so that's kind of
This
cool.
is a description of the task force she's on.
Yeah.
And she'll report to what this task force does. Very exciting. She's our regional person, representing all of us, and is exactly the right person to do it. She's
Been in it a long time.
Yes, I was saying,
I couldn't read my writing.
30 years ago.
Me too, Rabbi Barbara. So that'll be for our March meeting. February, we'll put an agenda together. If anyone has any suggestions, email me. Be great to hear from you. And I think we're good.
Any public comment?
Any public comments?
Great.
Do you want to give your accolades? No. No, this is great, and we really appreciate everybody being here. And those on the phone as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I need a motion to adjourn our meeting.
So move, Madam Chairwoman.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All abstentions or next? Good.
All right, thanks. Sheila and Marty.